So, what's up to my beautiful queens, divas of a more mature age? Welcome back to my channel. I am the Eva Monroe. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel today. So, this is part 2 of my over 40 single women. Why? And today, in this video, I want to talk about why are Black women so angry? Because lately I've been hearing so much of this in on social media, especially, and this whole movement that's going on right now on social media with these alpha males. And the number one thing that they say about Black women is that Black women are angry, Black women hate Black men and treat Black men like they are less than them, like they are beneath them, and Black women behave in an entitled manner, and they want more than they are worth, and they have all these high standards and these high. And so today I want to talk about why are Black women so mad, because I feel like people don't like what they don't understand, and people criticize what they don't understand. And there's a huge breakdown in communication. I mean, between Black women and Black men, Black mothers and Black fathers, Black mothers and Black sons, Black men and their Black daughters. There's a huge breakdown in communication, and things are out of control. And they have been for a long time. This is nothing new. Like, fatherless homes are nothing new. This didn't start in 2018. This is something that has existed for a while. And I used to be very angry. I used to be an angry Black woman. And now I can't speak for like 100% of angry Black women, but I can speak for a large group of us as to some of the reasons that we are angry and some of the reasons that we are broken. So I had to take it back. Like, I had to go back some generations, right, to start to figure this thing out. Like, I had to figure out where my behavior came from, because that was the one thing that I was missing in the beginning. I told you guys in my Because I Was Broken video that I spent the better part of my life refusing to be like my mother. And I fought so hard not to be like my mother that every day I was becoming more and more and more like my mother. I think if I hated men, it would be justified. It would really be justified. Like, if I had an issue with Black men, even at this present moment in my life, the people that are a part of my life, people that are close to me, they would be like, "Oh, well, yeah, she been through some ish." She has a reason. If anybody has a reason to hate Black men, she has a reason to hate Black men. Men, period, you know. Um, but I went through the healing process, and that's the biggest part of it. There are so many of us who have never went through the healing process, and we're angry. And then here we go. Now society says we're angry, we're confrontational, they don't like dealing with us, we want too much, we put ourselves on a pedestal. And then we give ourselves names like, the B word and ratchet, and because now we classy, bougie, and ratchet. And if I could just share some advice with you, you can't be all three. You can't be classy, bougie, and ratchet. You got to pick one. Um, I was at Burger King one day, and I was sitting in the drive-thru. My husband had called me and asked me to stop and pick up him and the gentleman that was working with him some lunch. They wanted Burger King. So typically no one's at Burger King, right? You can't, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's in the same parking lot, lines will be wrapped around the building. No cars ever at Burger King. But on this day, it was on a Friday, I pull into Burger King, the line is wrapped around the building. So I get in line where I'm supposed to get in line, and I've learned how to, patience has always been one of my biggest flaws. But I'm really learning to work on my patience. And so when I'm in a situation where normally I would be having impatient behavior, I've learned how to exercise patience and use my time wisely, like do something with my time. So I turn the radio station to my favorite, or the radio to my favorite station, and I'm listening to some good music, and I'm jotting down some stuff in my phone because I'm gonna be here a while. So I see a car pull in like this. It's coming in the wrong way. It's two brothers in the car. And I said to myself, oh, I hope they don't cut me off. Now, in a previous life, I would have been like, I wish they would, but I'm like, I hope they don't. Like I'm not in the mood for this today. So the car in front of me goes, and sure as the world, the brothers start to creep on in front of me. And I'm like, but why though? But I'm not going to get upset. I tooted on my horn and I was laughing. I was like, oh, I was mouthing. I said, you gonna do me like that? Like, you really gonna do me like that? So the guy looked at me and he's like, no, 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 no. So he backed up and he said, he did like this, like proceed. So I moved forward and I saw his door opening and I'm like, oh my God, not today. Like, I don't need this. This food ain't even for me. Like, I'm not even supposed to be here. So what are we getting ready to do? So he stands outside his car. He's like signaling me to roll my window down. And I roll my window down just enough. And he says, you all right with me? You all right with me? I told my homeboy you was going to cuss me out. You was going to get out your car and start acting crazy. Now, I said in response, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. And I went on with my day, but I thought about it later on in the day. I said, so if that's the response that you thought you were going to get out of me, why are you trying to trigger me? Why? Why even take me there? And then it dawned on me that that's the moment that people wait for. And that's the one thing we don't understand. Like, don't give these people what they want. They want to see you act crazy so that they can be standing there like this. Look at her. Look at her. She's banging holes in my car. And I'm like, don't give the people what they want. Sometimes just walk away. That's one thing I never learned how to do. Was I never learned how to walk away from confrontation, because it was always taught to me that if you walk away, you're weak. If someone disrespects you and you don't check them, you're weak. If someone hits you and you don't try to kill them, you're weak. You get into an argument with somebody, if you don't kill them with words, you're weak, And it took me a long time to change that behavior and to figure out that it's just not, like, I just don't have the time and the energy to put into it. I'm just not going to give you what you want. Like, I'm going to shock you every time. It even happens in my comment section. Like, people will come for me in the comment section, like drag me. And I'm like, you're never going to get a response out of me. Never. Like, because I'm so busy. Like, I don't have time for that type of behavior. But so why was I angry? It's going to get real today, y'all. It's going to get real. And some people will probably see this video and they'll probably be like, okay, you went there today, but I'm going there today because I want Black men, especially, because they're the ones that oftentimes call us out on being angry and bitter and mad and, thinking they're beneath us. I want them to know the reason why some of us are angry, why we mad. So, like I said, if I hated men, it would be justified. But I love them. I love them to death. I know they're not all the same. I used to lump them all into the same category, but I know that that's not true, So I was raised by my mother and my stepfather, pretty much. When I came into this world, my father was on a very lengthy vacation. And some of y'all probably know what that means. He was on a very lengthy vacation. So My mother was 15 years old when she got pregnant with me. She was 16 when she had me. And my father got her pregnant. My father was older than her. I think my father was he was about 10 years older than my mother. Yeah, well, because, yeah, my father was about 10 years older than my mother. And he was away on vacation. My mother had me. Then she had a couple other kids. And so there came this moment in her life where things got rough, and at this point in time, she had 3 children. Actually, no, she had 4. My mother has 6 kids. So she had 4 children, and she had to do something different. She just couldn't keep them all. She couldn't take care of them all. So me, being her only daughter, she packed me up and she sent me to go live with my aunt and her husband, who had 4 girls. So she thought that would be good for me. She thought it would be a good fit. So I stayed with them, and that's when my life changed. Because as a child, a very young child, my aunt's husband violated me in a very serious way. So I ended up, really, there's a fly in here. I ended up staying there for about 2 years, worst 2 years of my life. But I got used to dealing with it. I dealt with it. And I went to live back with my mother. My mother got a house. She was like, okay, you can come back and live with me and your brothers now. So I went back to my mother's. And one evening, my mother suggested that I go spend the night over my aunt's. And I said, no, I'm not going. And she wanted to know why. So I told her, this has been going on. And my mother was like, no. So to make a long story short, it got swept under the rug, right? So now I've always, and it was unbeknownst to me until I was 12, been like my father, like had my father's attitude, his personality. I just had my mother's, those things that were handed down generation through. I had the generational curse from my mother. I got those things from her, but I've always been like my father, very strong-willed, very overbearing personality, just very, outspoken like my father. But I never knew that. I just knew that for the most part, I was different than my mother, because my mother was scared of everything. And I was so fearless. Like, my mother has never flown on a plane ever to this day. She's never flown on a plane, 57, getting ready to be 58 years old, never seen the ocean, never driven a car. She never flew on a plane because she didn't want to be in a plane accident. Never drove a car because she was scared to get in a car accident. Never been to the ocean because she's scared to drown. Just scared of everything. And I was scared of nothing. Like, I was fearless. So they swept this under the rug, and things started to happen to me. I started to get angry. I was confused. I was angry. I didn't feel like I didn't think I could trust anyone around me. I started to distrust men. I started to not even particularly care for men. So that was violation number 1, right? So now I'm 12. And actually no, I think I was probably closer to like 10 or 11. And my mother and I start doing this. I was probably about 11. And we start doing this in a major way. Because my mother was very emotionally abusive. She was verbally abusive. She was mean. She was angry. She drank a lot. She used to like to drink E&J straight out the bottle. But I was like, I'm not taking that. Like no, you can't hit me anymore. No, you just can't haul off and slap me in the face and send me to school with a handprint on my face. We're not doing this anymore. So I start to rebel against her. And so I'm 12, and my mother packs my bags and tells me, "You're going to go live with your grandfather." And it's party time for me now, right? It's party time because I'm like, I love my grandpa. We go to grandpa's house. My grandpa used to drink that beer that came in a brown can. I can't even think of the name of it. And if you were real good, if you was over his house, he would give you a little half a can, or he would let the kids share a can of beer. Don't tell your mama. So, and once my grandfather had 3 cans of those brown beers, he was a whole lot of fun. Like, he would take his teeth out and chase you around the house, and it was grandpa's. So I was like, well, shut up, girl, if you ain't punishing me, I'm going to grandpa's house. I pack my bags, my bunk and junk, and I proudly go to my grandpa's house. So a few years before that, let me back up. One of my cousins told that my grandfather tried to proposition her. And everybody, all of my aunts and everybody, all but stoned her to death and said, "You're lying. You are a liar. Your grandpa would never do that to you." All of my aunts, my mother included, everybody, okay? Even me. Once they explained to me what propositioning was, I was like, what? Tish lied on grandpa. Forgive me for saying names. I don't mean to say names here. So I go to my grandpa's house, day 1, day 2, get my beer, like, give me my beer, drinking my beer. And my grandpa comes way from the left on me, asked me some questions that kind of tripped me out. My grandfather propositioned me. My mind was blown. I couldn't believe it. I felt it instantly, more than I felt bad for myself. I felt bad. I felt bad for my cousin because I said, oh my God, when this happened to me with my uncle and nobody believed me, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. And now I hurt for her because all my aunts and everybody said she was lying, and she was clearly telling the truth. So I'm going to my mother because more so than I want to let my mother know what happened to me, I want to tell my mother, y'all did this to her and she was telling the truth. So I go to my mother, and after she had an attitude, she said, "What the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be over your grandpa's house." I said, "I need to talk to you." And I tell my mother what happened. I said, "Grandpa asked me to do X, Y, and Z for $20. And my mother broke down crying. And when I say broke down crying, I had never seen my mother show that type of emotion ever before. I had only seen my mother be angry, pissed off, breaking stuff, hitting folk. I had never seen my mother break down like that. So I was like, I didn't know what was going on. And it was my moment of hurt, but I was consoling my mother. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's gonna be all right." I mean, my mother was like crying profusely. And then when she calmed down, she said, "I never wanted to tell you this, but your grandfather molested all of us girls." Now, my mother's mother died when she was 3 years old. So that'll tie into here and help you understand how this goes. My mother had never been mothered, ever. And she didn't even have a father. That's not a father that's climbing in and out of the bed with you and all of your sisters. So when she told me this, the first thing that popped into my mind was, wow, you covered me in blood and threw my ass to the wolves. You put me in the danger zone. Who even does that? And so not understanding this whole generational thing, not understanding that broken people can't heal people, hurt people, lost people can't lead people. I hated her. I had hate in my heart for her. And that's hard to say. Like, you're like, how do you hate your mother? I hated her for that. I said not once, but twice, you threw me to the wolves. And what did you do? Did you pray that they wouldn't prey on me like they preyed on you? Did you think I was different? Did you think, and to a certain extent, I do believe that my mother thought that I was different just because of my personality. And there were things I wasn't having. Even when I was a little girl, once I went through that drama with my uncle, I got to a point where I was like, oh, no, 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 you know. But at the same time, nobody saved her. She couldn't save herself. So how was she going to be prepared to save me? She didn't come equipped with the tools to be the mother of a daughter. She didn't come equipped with the tools to be the mother of anybody. Let's be clear about that. So then I became angry, like stupid angry with men. So then I get to meet my real father by accident. My mother hated my father. And when I tell you my mother hated my father, I mean my mother hated my father. And imagine living through that, because the worst part about it is the fact that I look so much like my father. It doesn't make sense. It does not. If you saw my mother and I in a room, it would be very hard for you to know that we were mother and daughter. If you saw my father in one state and me in another, you would know he was my father. That's how serious it is. It doesn't even look right some days. Sometimes when people are in my comment section asking me am I transgender, I'm like, no, honey, I look like him. If I have a ball cap on, it's a wrap. Imagine her not knowing how to deal with her emotions, being angry, bitter, confused, and hateful, being an alcoholic, having too many children, not being able to afford to take care of these children, hating the man that gave her the very first one, that is the strongest one, the most hard-headed one in the house. That was brutal. Because my mother would just look at me some days and just be like, and some of y'all watching this video know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all are doing this. Some of y'all have men or have children by men that you loathe. You absolutely hate, and they look exactly like these men, and you look at these children and you just have these flashbacks. I could do nothing right in my mother's eyes. Every time she looked at me, anything I did, you just like your father. You're just like your damn daddy. You just like, constantly. So that was hard. But I finally get to meet this man because I'm like, I never even saw a photo of my father prior to meeting him. So I'm sitting on the porch one day and this brown car pulls up in the driveway. This man gets out of it. Like, this man is larger than life and he's walking towards me. And when I catch a glimpse of his face, it was like the most emotional moment for me ever. I just froze. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, this is me. This man looks just, and he's like, you have to be Eva because you look just like me. And I said, I am. So even though my father came home from his very lengthy vacation, he wasn't done with that life. So he was still in the streets. He was still doing his thing. He was still running women. He was still involved in drugs and this and that and that. But any time I got the opportunity, whenever I could leave home or if I would ever sneak off, I would go right to my father. because my father would tell me all the time, I will protect you. My father used to say, I will fight a rock and kill a dead tree for you. And I would go right to my father, wherever. I'd find him, wherever he was. And wherever he was, whatever he was doing, he would take me in. Wouldn't matter if he was sitting in a drug house. Wouldn't matter if he was with 2 or 3 of his women. Wherever he was, he would always take me in. And I always felt safe with my father. I felt safe with him. But as I started to get a little bit older, I started to have a little bit of resentment for him because I felt like he could have saved me. And so as I started to get older and I started to think about that, how, wow, you just went on to prison, for 13 years. And, she threw me to the wolves, but she couldn't help her little crazy self. But if you would have had your act in order, you'd have had yourself together, you could have protected me. You could have saved me. And when I finally got grown and I got my own house and I had my children, my father at one point came to live with me. And I had never told him about anything that I had been through in the past. And one night he and I got into it. We had a little argument about some stuff. And I just let it all go. I said, well, you know what? Let me tell you this. You ain't so great. And you don't know what I've been through. I've been through hell, and you have no idea. Now you just want to come live with me. You ain't paying no bills. But we overcame that. We got past that. And I always believed myself to be, until the day that my father left this world, myself and my children, the most important people in my father's life. Because he got to a point to where he gave his life to the Lord. He got in church. He started doing things right. He settled down. He had one woman. He wasn't in the streets anymore. And he wanted to be close to me. It was all he ever wanted to do. He wanted to be close to me. And we moved past that. So why are we so angry? Why do we have a problem with Black men? Why do we sometimes act like we hate Black men? Well, I just told you, my father was in prison. He wasn't in my life when I was born. My stepfather, well, he liked to do drugs and he would smack my mother around from time to time. He wasn't the greatest person, for a while. My grandfather couldn't be trusted. My uncle couldn't be trusted. And these were all men that were a part of my life before I was even 16 years old. Before the age of 16, I encountered all these wonderful men, right? Wonderful men. So what happened when I get out into the world? Who am I going to be with? Who am I going to be with? Because I'm broken by men and by my mother. Let's be clear about that. And men have destroyed me. They have destroyed every fiber of my being. And I don't know how to heal. I don't know about crazy people went to counseling. Like back in those days, if you went and laid on somebody's couch, you were crazy. Chances are you would end up in a room, with padding on all 4 walls in a white jumpsuit. You were crazy. You didn't do that. And Black people most definitely didn't do that. And why didn't Black people do that back then? And even some still today. Because you don't talk about what goes on in the family. You be quiet about what happens in this house stays in this house. There are more secrets in most Black families than there are in Vegas. So I go out into this world, and what type of man am I going to be attracted to? What type of man is going to be attracted to me? What type of man is going to be drawn to me? Because I'm broken. I'm weak. I am still, I'm looking for, even though I take so much issue with men, I'm looking for one that is going to do the right thing. I'm looking for some approval from one of these gentlemen. I'm looking to be loved by. It's like there gotta be one out there, because as women, we don't come into this world as gold diggers and horrible women and entitled and treating men a certain way. We're not born like that. That is put in us at some point in time during our life. We're born nurturers. We want to have a husband and we want to have some babies with him, and we want to have a house with a picket fence, and we only want to have one husband. We don't want to have a trothel of men or a brothel. We want to have one husband. We start out taking care of our little baby dolls. We're going to take, you ever seen a innocent little toddler, or a baby with a baby doll just abusing and beating her baby? No, we know from day one, we know this is a baby. You nurture this baby. That's what we want to do. That's how we come into this world, and that is taken away from us at some point in time or another. And only the strong survive, right? Because there's so many of us out here who just we don't even know where to begin. We're like, I'm so broken, where do I start? Like, I don't even know where to begin. And they still have that thing about, you don't talk about what happened in your house. And I say this all the time. Like, I tell mine, I don't give a damn about a family secret. Ain't no family secrets over here. Because the family secrets that existed in my family, they caused other people in my family to be destroyed, to be violated, when the people before could have saved the people that were coming in behind them. It's just like, it's not even only in the family where this happens. If you think about Harvey Weinstein, it's like, because of the fact that women, sometimes we're so afraid to speak about things. We don't want to tell. We don't want to look bad. Sometimes we have something to lose. We don't want to lose. And then other women are coming behind us and they're getting ready to walk through the same fire. And we can't even say, girl, that's hot. Don't do that. Stay away from him. That's the devil. I don't give a damn about a family secret. I really don't. Period. Because I refuse to let the girls that are coming up in behind me be plagued by the same drama and abuse that I was plagued by coming up. Because it's not fair to them. Children cannot save themselves. There has to be someone there willing to save them. There has to be. And the people who God loaned them to, they are responsible for doing that. However, unfortunately, sometimes people get together and have children that have no business. They shouldn't even have puppies. But they get together and breed children. Broken, all these generational curses and things going on. They never try to break the cycles, and then they pass this stuff right on down to their children. And then here we go. It's just more broke people walking around in the world. So when men want to know why are women so angry, sometimes it's just a matter of having a conversation with them. Like, hey, what's your, where do you come from? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. Now, don't spill it all to him on the first date. Don't do that, because he'll get up and be like, check, please. I ain't got time for this. And that's why it's important to do the work, heal, before you bring someone into your life. This wasn't always, it didn't work that way for me. Because I used to think that I needed someone to heal. I needed help. Okay, if he's in my life, he can help me get through this and that and this and that. And that's not the way that it works. You have to heal your broken self before you bring somebody else into your life. And it can be done, and it's possible. You just have to be willing. You have to be honest with yourself about where this comes from. And you have to forgive the people who you feel have wronged you. And sometimes you have to understand those people and what they've been through. I had to do that with my mother because I was so confused about my mother. I was like, women. And then it became easy for me to forgive my mother when I saw how broken my mother actually was. And I realized that she never had anyone in her life who genuinely loved her. And she does not genuinely love herself. So it wasn't even possible for her to genuinely love me and care for me and nurture me. She didn't have a mother. Her mother died when she was 3 years old. She didn't have the tools that she needed to raise me. She didn't have that. And so once I understood that and I forgave her for anything that she may have done wrong to me, because when you know better, you do better. And unfortunately, in all of her years of life, she has never even tried to learn better so that she can do better and be better. But the day that I told myself like that will not be me, because healing was important for me. There are a few people that will stand up in this world and tell you that they have been as broken as I have, and tell you that they have been through the things that I have been through. But I feel like everything I went through, I felt like I went through those things all by myself. No other women in this world went through the things that I went through as I was growing up. That's how I felt. Because I never heard women actually verbalize, oh, I was violated. Oh, I was this. Oh, I was that. So I thought I was alone. And I was ashamed of my past. I was so ashamed of everything that I had been through. I kept it all deep down inside. And I had to tell myself, girl, that was not your fault. You were surrounded by horrible individuals, and thank God you survived. I owed it to myself and to my children to understand who I was, how I went through the things that I went through, and to get better. I wouldn't have rather had it any other way. Well, I would have loved to grow up, like the Cosbys, and well, I don't know, but I would have loved to grow up in a picture perfect home, living in a picture perfect world where we had lots of money and there was love and we got together and everyone could be trusted. But that's not my story. That wasn't my story. That wasn't the way that this thing was laid out for me. So I took those lemons and I turned them into lemonade. And all those things have built some serious character in me and have shaped me and molded me into the woman that I am today, because I refuse to be violated like that ever again in life. And I refuse to stand idly by and watch any other woman be violated like that. So today I say, why are Black women angry? Some of us have a lot of reason to be angry, have had a lot of reason in the past to be angry, but the biggest part of it is we have to heal. And sometimes we have to come together to heal. It's necessary. It's necessary for us because the world is watching us. And I say this all the time. Like I say, my channel is about helping women become better, how to think better, feel better, act better, look better, be better mentally, physically, all that type of stuff. That's what my channel is about. Especially my sisters, because all too often we are accused of tearing each other down and hating each other. And there's this battle of the, we got the, what is it called? The light skin versus dark skin. What do they call that thing? There's so much there's so much that we are fighting against each other with right now. That is ridiculous. When at the end of the day, it should be all about love, because we are the same, you know. We are the same, and most of us face the same struggles. We go through the same drama. We need the same things in our life. So thank you guys so much for listening to me today in this part 2. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you let me know what's your feelings on why Black women are so angry. If you feel different, if you have a different opinion about why Black women are so angry, leave it in the comment section below. Until I see you again, be blessed and bye.